Good afternoon. My name is Navjot Singh Gill. I am an application engineer with Lunchbyte PLM Solutions. I want to welcome you to this installment of the Lunchbyte series. This series is designed to briefly explore capabilities within Solid Edge that are often overlooked. We want our Lunchbytes to be valuable to you, so please let us hear your suggestions on topics you should cover via email. Uh, if you have any questions regarding to the sessions, please write them down and send them via email. Today's session is on PMI, Product Manufacturing Information. So first of all, what is a PMI? PMI consists of dimensions and annotations that are added to 3D models and can be used in review manufacturing and in inspection processes. So what you do is you put your dimensions and annotations on your 3D models, and then you can bring those dimensions and annotations, essentially your PMI data, from your 3D model to your drawing sheets. So as far as agenda is concerned, we'll cover commands inside this PMI tab, which you can see on the top. PMI has its own tab, and there are a bunch of commands. Basically, your dimensioning, annotation, and modeling commands. So starting off we'll start with the sketch dimensions. Before I go into dimensioning mode, I'll cover some of the small options on the extreme left corner. So small tab here that says overlapping. So what it does is whenever you window select any element, in order to select that entire element, what you have to do is you have to make sure that your selection criteria include the entire element. Okay. So if you don't want that, what you can do is you can start this command here. What it does is even though if it touches that element, it automatically gets selected. So for example, say I want to select these elements, I can just window select. Even though I don't have them included in the selection criteria, notice that all these chamfer edges automatically got selected. So this is what it does, this small command here. By default, it's turned off. So the next command is a selection filter. Now, this is a very powerful command if you have a complicated sketch and you want to delete or hide stuff. So what you can do is you can make sure whatever you want to select, you can check that option. So for example, I want to select all these relationships here. Either I can manually select it, just for example, say just select all these relationships manually and hit Control Tab, so that, or what I can do is if I want to select all of them in one selection, what I can do is I can just hide all of the other options but sketch relationship. So now I can just window select and all my relationships are selected, and if I don't want it, I can delete them. Now one thing to note here is once you select that filter, it remembers your last setting. So make sure you apply a check mark if you don't want that selection criteria again. Alright, so in the next section we'll talk about dimensioning commands. There's a group here, dimension group. We'll start with smart dimension. Now smart dimension, it looks at the element which you are selecting. So basically when I select this linear element, notice it puts a dimension on top of that element. So if I do it on a circle, it automatically it knows it needs a diameter symbol, so it automatically puts that symbol on top of that dimension. So if I select this element, notice it gives me a length of that. So if I want to change and I want a horizontal or vertical distance between the endpoint of these lines, what I can do is with the help of Shift key, if I press my Shift key down, I can just toggle this between horizontal and vertical dimensions. And you don't have to remember this. As you look at the bottom, at the prompt bar, you'll notice that it gives you a shift horizontal and vertical. That way you can just toggle it. So that's a small trick here. Now, as far as these leaders and arrows are concerned, what you can do is, depending upon your cursor position, notice you get the small feedback. So what you can do is, if I want to change the direction of the arrows, what I can do is just drag this arrow onto the other side. Notice it automatically changes the orientation of these arrows at either side. So that's how you can change it. The next thing we'll cover is putting a dimension on a 3D model. So I'll just start this model here. Now, every once in a while we have to dimension, we get a case where we have to find the theoretical intersection point of in a model. So what we can do is here, again, inside my smart dimension command, if I highlight any edge, notice I get feedback. So if you are on ST3 or ST2, all you have to do is press I, then you will see this theoretical intersection point feedback. So if I don't want this and I want to toggle to some other intersection point, what I can do is I can press I on the keyboard. Notice it changed to different intersection point. So if I click now, notice it puts dimension to that theoretical point. Now once we have dimension, you'll notice that I can select the dimension and make changes to it. Now one thing to note here is there is also a lock button on the right hand side. So that's where you can lock the dimension. So what does that lock mean? So you'll notice if I lock this dimension, it changes the color of the dimension to red. So that tells me it's a locked dimension. But you will notice here that if I select this dimension here, but I would still be able to change it. So what does that locked dimension mean? So it basically is locking the face, which is tied to this dimension. So right now it's locked. So if I select this face and move, notice what happens. The entire model moves. It's not moving the face. So that's what it does. It locks those the face which are tied to the dimension. And also, since we are here, what you can do is, depending upon your cursor position, notice if my cursor is on slightly right, notice I get a red arrow on the right hand side. So what that means is I can, if I change this dimension values, the face highlighted on the right side is going to move. Now, one thing I've noticed here is in order to use your mouse wheel, what you have to do is you have to keep your cursor in this box, and then with the help of mouse wheel you can change it. So if your cursor position is anywhere else, then you'll notice that the behavior changes. Now it will zoom in and zoom out. So if you don't want this behavior, what you can do is you can go inside Solid Edge Options. On the Journal tab, there is option to enable value changes using the mouse wheel. So what that will do is, I'll just apply this option here. And now if I click on this dimension, even though my cursor is here in the background, with the help of mouse wheel, I can change the dimension edits. So by default, this option is turned off. So I just wanted to show you that option. Now, the next thing we'll cover here is about locking dimension. Again, it's if you want to develop some intelligence inside a model, you can use your lock dimension command in order to build the intelligence. So for example, I'll just place a dimension between this circle cutout and this edge here, and I can quickly place a dimension. Now, right now it's unlocked. So if I move this face, notice what happens. You are able to make change to this dimension. So if you don't want this dimension to change, as I showed you, you can always lock it down. So what's going to happen is that the intelligence which I'm building here is I want my hole to be at a fixed distance from this planar face. So now if I select this face, notice that it moves, but the distance from the planar face to the circular hole, it remains constant. So that's how you can build intelligence within your model, and you can put dimensions, lock them down, so that whenever you make changes, those dimension values don't change. So that was with the help of locking the dimension down. Again, if you don't want it, you can always unlock the dimension, and you can just move this or wherever you want to. All right. So next thing is locking dimension plane. So every once in a while I've got question from users that they're not, the dimension which they are putting, it doesn't snap to the plane. So it's looking for some other plane. So you'll notice that there's also a tab here on the, if I click on Smart Dimension and On the top right corner, there's a tab, Log Dimension Plane. I'm going to show you what it does. So basically, whenever I select this edge, based on the orientation of the model, Solid Edge places the dimension horizontally and vertically based on the model orientation. So what if you want this dimension to be parallel to this face, this chamfer face? What you can do is you can select this dimension and then dimension command, click on this Lock Dimension Plane command and select this face. So this will put a small brown plane. So whenever you select any edge from here on, it will place that dimension parallel to that chamfer edge, as you can see here. Now, there's one thing to note here is, now, as I moved out of the command, and if I click this Smart Dimension again, notice that this brown plane automatically gets highlighted. So it is still looking for that dimension plane. So from here on, if I select this edge, notice what I'm getting. So I get a lot of questions like this, like why I'm getting this result. This is because the dimension is still looking at that parallel plane. So it's, even though you selected a vertical edge, it is still looking at that dimension plane. So in order to get rid of that plane, what you can do is you can hit F3 on the keyboard, and that now from here on it will forget that plane, and now you get your Solid Edge default behavior. Based on your orientation of the model, you can put dimensions wherever you want to. Right. So the key here is press F3 if you want to unlock the plane, dimension plane. Again, I can use the dimension plane option now to dimension this angular face. All I have to do is just pick that edge, and whatever dimension it's going to use, I'm going to place it onto that plane. All right, so we'll just press F3. All right. So next thing, from here on, we'll talk more about how to put PMI dimensions and also annotations, and how to bring those annotations and dimensions onto your drawing sheet. So as an example, I have the sheet metal part. So what I'm going to do is use some of the annotations on this component, and for that, I'll just have to go inside this callout command. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but there's a small bend option here, and it has all the bend commands specific your property text details. So this is a small, whenever you select this, it will select this, it will create this code, and you can just paste it in this callout text. So you can also save this setting as I did here, and what it's going to do is it is going to automatically extract bend angle and bend radius of that edge. So what I'm going to do is hit OK, and if I select this edge, notice it gives me feedback on the bend radius and the bend angle. So let's place this option here and see. And these options here, this property text is associative. So what that means is if I change this bend radius, right now it's 0.2. If I change this to 0.3, notice what it does. If I hit enter, it automatically updates your annotations. Similarly, your bend angle. If you change the angle, it will automatically update. Now, still inside this annotation, one thing to note here is, let me put this annotation again. If I select this edge, there's also a plane option. So if you are more concerned about putting this on a particular plane, what you can do is you can always lock the dimension plane, so the annotation is locked to that particular plane. Also, you will notice there's an angle here. You can also, if you want, you can change this angle onto the annotation. Now, one thing to note here is there's a group called property text group. So what this does is, if for some reason you don't want this associativity, what you can do is you can convert all. Use this command, convert all. So what it does, it converts all the property text to just simple text. So let's see what happens. So if I do a convert all, what it's going to do is give me a message here that you will lose the associativity. So if I hit yes, from here on, if I change the band radius, it will, if I change this 0.3 to 0.2, hit enter, notice that this value didn't change because I don't want that associativity, and I've converted all the property text to simple text. So that's what this command does. Now we'll come back to this component for PMI on the flat pattern later on. But let's look at some of the model views which we can generate here on this component. So I have some dimension values on this component, and what I can do is I can extract the annotations just by selecting a feature control feature, and now I have some saved ones, so I can just select OK and place this feature control frame onto this component. Now there are different ways you can extract all this information onto your drawing sheet. Now the simple way is retrieving the dimension. So what I'm going to do is if I at this point, if I save this component and create a drawing, so what's going to happen is it will ask me a drawing template, and I can select different views I want onto this of this part and hit finish. Now if I want to retrieve all the PMI data which I created on the 3D component, what I have to do is I have to just use this command called retrieve dimension. So what it does is if I click on this command and select if I select a component, it is going to automatically retrieve the dimension. Now if I can do it the other way is I can also save this as a model view. So for example, if I want, I can do a front view and go to my model view, hit this command, and then say front view. I can save this. So what's going to do is it's going to capture the view and also your PMI information. So I can just hit OK, and this would be my front view. And if I do say right, and then I can create another model view and just label it as right view. I'm going to just save this component. So what's going to do is create some model views inside this PMI group. So if you unbranch this model view option, you'll notice that your front and the right view comes up here, and you can tell if you right click at this point, you can send this PMI information to views and markup. And also, if you want to review this, what review does is it automatically gives you capability. If you have multiple model views, you can toggle between those views with the help of these small handles. And at this point, if I create a drawing, it gives me an option to add this PMI data. So what I'm going to do is select whatever model view I want, and I can select include my PMI dimensions, PMI annotations, hit finish, and I can place it here. And you'll notice that all my PMI data is extracted. Similarly, if I want to bring the right model view, what I can do is again go back to the view wizard, and in this case I'll just select this view here and hit finish and place it. So that's the other way you can bring your PMI data in a drawing sheet by creating model views. Now one thing you will note here is whenever I move this, there is no associativity. You can develop that associativity with just right click, create alignment, and you can select the view. And now these two views are associated. So if you move one, the other one automatically moves. That's another way of getting your PMI dimensions and annotation information onto your drawing sheet. Let's go back to our sheet metal component, where what we'll do is we'll just create a flat pattern and create a PMI information onto a flat pattern. So here I just select the face and edge. I can create a flat pattern of this sheet metal component, and onto top view, what I want is I want to dimension these holes. So what I'll do is I'll select my smart dimension command, select this hole here, and then select this one and place this dimension here. Now I can also dimension any other edge or like corner condition here, or say like I want to dimension this edge here. And if you want to bring this data, the flat pattern PMI information, or what you can do is you can save this this view as a model view. So again, you just go to a model view. You can just name it as flat pattern model view. Hit OK. Now once it's saved, what you can do is you can quickly put this view on a drawing sheet. All you have to do is select this option for flat pattern, and then you will be able to select that flat pattern model view. You can hit finish and place that model view onto your drawing sheet, and you'll have all the PMI information, whatever you used on your flat pattern, onto your drawing sheet. So that way you can dimension different features in a flat pattern. Last but not least, let's talk about section view. Now, you can create section views, and you can also add those section views onto your model views. So how do we do that? So you notice that this section view, if for some reason it's not showing up, that means you don't have any sketch element, linear sketch element onto your face or onto your in your model. So I can select this command, and then I can select this linear element and quickly create a section view. Now there are different ways you can bring that section view onto your drawing. Now here I'm going to show you how we can add section view to the model view. So what I can do is I can just do a front view, and I want this as a model view. So all I have to do is just create a model view, say section, and now what I can do is I have to go back to my section view, right click and say add to the model view. So it will bring a list of all the model views which you have, and you hit OK, and that way when you bring that information, if you bring this component inside a drawing, you can get the section view of that component. That's one way of getting it. Now the other way is simply you just create a drawing view, and then inside that view you can right click on your drawing view, and then go to properties, and in the section tab you can select the section you want to show in that particular drawing view. That's another way of doing this. One thing which you can do here is you can also add your PMI data inside your section view, so that you have all the PMI data and also section view saved as a model view, so that whenever you place this model view with section data onto your drawing sheet, it has all complete information. Now some of the stuff which is worth mentioning here is some of the dimension color codes. You will notice we covered red and blue. Whenever it's a blue dimension, that means it's a free dimension, so you can do edits. So dynamic edit, you can select that dimension and make changes. So if it's a red dimension, as you can see here, it is a locked dimension, but you still can do dynamic edit. If it's a purple dimension, so it's a driven dimension, so you have to make changes to some other dimension in order to change this. So you cannot directly edit that dimension. So if it's a brown dimension, it means it's not available. So either you have to delete it. Some of the features which were used, if they were deleted, then you will see these brown dimensions onto your model. Now, as I've already showed you, your locked dimension values can be changed by the user if they select the value and change it. So what you cannot do with your locked dimension is you cannot change the dimension with the help of your face. If you select a face and move it, if the dimension is locked, you won't be able to edit that dimension value. Now here are different ways that you can change. Now I've shown you if you want to change the dimension value, all you have to do is select this numeric data, and then you can enter the new value. So just by dragging the arrow, you can change the direction of this arrow, and also if you want to move the move the dimension to some other location, look for this feedback of the cursor, and then you can quickly move the dimension to some other location. Now, for directional 3D directional edits, it all depends on which way, which side of the dimension value you click. If you click on the left-hand side, you'll notice that the red arrow appears on the left-hand side, and all the geometry which gets highlighted as light blue is going to change. Similarly, if you select slightly right to the dimension value, you can change this, change the highlighted faces. Then comes model size and pixel size. So what you can do is, you will let me show you this real quick. So I have all these values here. Now if I go to PMI, you'll see there's a inside dimension group. There's a pixel size PMI and model size PMI. So I can change the height of this text with the help of the small buttons if I want to increase or decrease. And this setting is only for pixel size PMI. So it depends upon whether you zoom in and zoom out, these values will change. Now, there's another setting that says model size PMI. What's going to do is it's going to use your style. So if you want to change, notice that these two tabs are grayed out. So if you want to make changes to your model size PMI, what you have to do is go inside your styles and make sure you select the styles and also the standard, and you hit modify, and you can go to text, and this is the value here, font size. That's the value which is using currently in order to display these annotations, PMI annotations. So if you don't want it, you can always go back to pixel size PMI. So next thing is, as I already showed you, you can have all the data like your sheet metal, flat pattern, PMI, annotations, and data, and you can bring those data onto your drawing sheet as I've already showed you. And you have to be a little careful here. Whenever you're putting a flat pattern with a PMI on it, make sure you select the flat pattern option. So if you have a design part, that PMI which you have created on a flat pattern will not appear in this group. So you have to change this to flat pattern, and then you will be able to see this option. And this option is also available. Include PMI is also included in the solid edge options. So you can just include dimensions and annotations in this changes option. Now, one thing I haven't showed you is how to flip the diameter dimension. It's very easy. Now, when you are inside smart dimension, you can select this option here, and that way you can flip dimensions, as you can see in these two screenshots. Similarly, if you hit N key on the keyboard and B as back, you get different results as shown in the screenshot. It's basically changing the dimension value horizontal, vertical. So whatever way you want to, all you have to do is just press N on your keyboard. As I already showed you, vertex blinding is on by default in SD4. So if you select any face, you will notice that these two vertex they highlight, and you can dimension them. So pre SD4 you have to hit I, and then it will turn on. In SD4 it's on by default, and you can always toggle between different points by pressing I on your keyboard. Also, if you are in a sheet metal component, it automatically detects the theoretical point. Here, as you can see here, if you highlight this edge, it automatically gives you dimension from the theoretical intersection point. So that behavior is also consistent on sheet metal components. Now, as far as dimensioning a hole, now here you'll notice that it's not a planar face, and you have this circular. Even though it's an ellipse, you will be able to dimension this the center axis of this feature. And these are some of the conditions where this will work. Here you notice that it is kind of cylindrical face, canted plane, conic. So these are valid conditions. The only non-valid condition is this spline. So if you have a B-spline curve and you have a surface, complex surface, and you have a hole on this component, so that's the only condition where you won't be able to dimension this hole to any edge or any face of the component. So that's all as far as the presentation is concerned. We have training coming up next month, and all the training details about advanced technique training rendering classes is available on our website aliveplm.com. Again, this session will be posted on our YouTube channel. So if you have any questions, please email us and or call us, and we'll be glad to help you. Thank you very much for your time today.